What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Martian and Ozzy podcast. This week, we're going to be talking about the RDA versus Fiziev card going down this weekend at the UFC Apex. I'm joined by my co-host, as always, Ozzy. How we doing this week, my man?
Nice and sore. Lots of gym, lots of jujitsu this week. 4th of July weekend was great. And for last event, coming off the pay-per-view event wasn't great. I think for everyone, they felt it was like an anticlimactic event overall. Some good moments overall, but now I think going into the meaty section of the UFC calendar, I think we got two big fight night events and then a pay-per-view at the end of this month. So, and then a nice main event here this week with some, some top lightweights, which is definitely my favorite usually my favorite contender, area and fight to have. So yeah, looking forward to the rest of the summer for sure.
Yeah, pretty rough pay-per-view card for me as well. Definitely some losing bets. But the one good thing I have to take away was our best bet parlay of the week. For a change, for to break the streak, mine won and yours lost. So I feel I feel good about the coming weeks just based on that alone. How about you? How'd you do bet wise?
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. So yeah, Brad Riddell obviously let me down, throwing naked inside leg kicks, 30 seconds in. I would never advise that. I would think him as a striking coach as well, but apparently Jalen Turner, he's gonna keep chopping through the division as a whole. So down 4.4 units there. Honestly, I had Stolyarenko's submission and stuff like that, which was probably my best take. And I will say also, give me a little credit. Stolyarenko was going to be my best bet, and it got hit mid through the show, and it got to like plus. I think it was like plus 120 when we finished. I was like, all right, I'm not going to do that, and then it ended up closing like plus 150. But alas, whatever is what it is. So yeah, ended up being on Pereira, but between the Holloway bet and the bet on Brad Riddell, 4.4 in the hole. And we move on to the fight night event this week.
That was definitely your most confident pick of the last week, and
Definitely.
we got to start making it so like that either makes or breaks the night. Like after that, you should have been like locked in for profit the whole car
It's
without.
bro. I'm solid on the prelims. I'll tell you, man. Those prelims, but as we go higher up the card, I feel like the variance is a little bit. I don't know what it is specifically, but I feel like I wish I would have had a little more conviction on Pereira. When they got to the plus money side, I was like, man, this guy has like such a good floor if he foils any of the grappling game by Strickland, and he didn't need to do it at all, obviously. And obviously the Pedro Munoz bet ended up getting voided, but yeah, I put that in the past. Not a very memorable pay per view though, through and through, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with the prelim take. I mean, I think it's something about us maybe knowing the fighters a little less, and then we have like less preconceived notions. And I mean, the guys in the main card, for example, last fight. I mean, besides Pereira, we've seen these guys fight for hours and hours in the cage, and we get some biases about them. And I guess maybe that
Yeah,
puts the
Robbie did hurt me. I forgot to mention that one. I ended up going on Robbie, and I thought that was a great bet. I think he was like 4-1
at one
favorite
point. Yeah,
in the second round. But yeah, he shit the bed
yeah, I
there
bet
at the
Robbie,
end.
and
But
and then
credit to
and then
Barberena.
Max, we were just, I mean, worse, better. I
Yeah,
mean,
that was
yeah,
totally
that.
off.
Uh, But anyway, enough about the past. I mean, we got a good fight night coming up. I feel like a lot more bettable fights on this fight card. A lot of fights that make your head hurt to talk about, but we'll do our best to give some quality analysis as always. But I definitely have some bets already locked in, and let's start this off in the bantamweight division. We have Kakhramonov versus Hani the Heat, as Ozzy calls him. Definitely one of Ozzy's boys that he's been endorsing for a while now. Ronnie is at minus 125. Kakramanov plus 105. I'll let you start this one off, Ozzy. What are you thinking about this bantamweight fight?
Man, great fight to open up to open up the prelim card, right? The card as a whole. Two guys that I mean, I'm obviously you mentioned I've been a big Ronnie Lawrence supporter, and obviously I'm a big cock guy for sure as well. So I'm kind of not loving that they match these guys up here. Ronnie Lawrence, I just really love his game. I mean, this guy has like he reminds me like Justin Scoggins, where he has like some of that like karate, kickboxing stuff, but then he'll also shoot in on you and have takedowns and top control. And he also, to me, has like a little TJ Dillashaw, in him where he's kind of like switching. He's got power in both hands. He's great with his kicks, but then he can wrestle. Kind of reminded me of like when TJ started taking down John Lineker, and you're like, oh shit, I forgot. TJ Dillashaw is originally a wrestler. But going out into the matchup, Kakramanov came into that fight against Trevin Jones, and it's a overall, I think a nice spirited effort overall. Obviously, he won, but you did see some faults in the game, right? He got grinded against the cage a little bit. He got taken down. Ended up in bottom out a few times. But the guy's crafty. He works with what he has, right? If you shoot in on him, he's willing to grapple. He's very down to strike and throw power shots in exchange as well. And he brings a fight. He's got great conditioning as well. I would say, I know he's slowed down in a few of his fights, but I think overall his conditioning is pretty good, and he likes being in high paced fights overall. So even if he is tiring, more than likely the other guy's going to be getting tired as well, like Trevin Jones was, because Kakramonov's looking to push. He throws a lot of power in his shots. But here I think Ronnie Lawrence is just a more strategic fighter, tactical. He has, I think, a little bit more tools, and he chains them together a bit better. This line was originally, I think, like pick'em. Now it's coming back towards pick'em. I think people were getting a little excited on the Ronnie Lawrence side, and honestly, for me, I've been as the line was getting away, I kind of was settled on just passing on the fight overall. Not really wanting to back Ronnie here, just because I do respect Kakramonov's game overall. I think he's got I don't think his hands are that accurate, but like I said, he's willing to throw, he's willing to exchange, and I think Ronnie's going to be a little more hesitant to be shooting in, all that much here on Kakramanov early. And then if they get into the clinch, I actually like probably Kakramanov. I think Kakramanov has a little bit of an advantage there with the judo background, judo and sambo background. So I'm looking at actually a little bet on Ronnie by decision. It's plus 135 in most places, or like the most easily to get places like FanDuel. I see a plus 150 and maybe like a book out there that some people could get on. But I think that's a solid bet. I think a Ronnie win, is him. He's getting takedowns, maybe like pinning Kakramanov in half guard a little bit, but his control is not the best overall. Like if you are trying to get up, so I could see this devolving into kind of like a sloppy fight a little bit, where Ronnie is chasing takedowns a little bit too much. So I don't really want to get invested too much on the money line side, but I do think I'll lean towards the towards Ronnie by decision potentially, and make that my only potential wager on the fight. And I do think it'll go into the later rounds. But I just like that the fact that Ronnie can kick, switch the stances, and I like the shots and how he sets them up. So no disrespect to Kakramanov, I think he's going to get a lot of wins in this bantamweight division, but I prefer Ronnie Lawrence here overall, and he'll be my pick to win.
A great matchup to start off the card, and I'm on Ronnie's money line here. I got it minus 120 for 1.25 units, the smallest of my three bets so far. But I just feel like Ronnie has more ways to win the fight. Obviously, wrestling being one of the major paths. Kakramanov hasn't looked the best off his back when he's been put. Pretty much only real success Trevin Jones had in the fight was in the second round. He got a takedown, and Kakramanov kind of just laid on his back for 2 minutes there. I mean, he could have been taking a breather, known he was already had a good lead in the fight. But regardless, we did see him lay flat on his back for 2 minutes there, which I don't think was too promising. And that whole Jones fight was weird, man. I mean, he was really late notice. I mean, he performed well. He got the win. But I just didn't think it was that impressive of a performance looking back on it. A lot of time spent against the cage, and he had that one guillotine attempt in round one, and eventually got the guillotine for good in round three. And that's going to be something to look out for here. Ronnie needs to make sure he doesn't get his neck caught in that guillotine here. But I think the wrestling should be a big path for Ronnie, and I think his striking that looked a lot better versus Mana Martinez, and I think his striking is going to be continuing to evolve. He, throws leg kicks from the outside. His punches looked pretty sharp in his last fight, and you're going to want to see Ronnie trying to keep this fight at distance, at kicking range, while Kakramanov likes to just kind of trade in the pocket. I mean, coming into the UFC, hit several wins in a row came by him just trading and throwing hands and knocking guys out. I mean, he has really good power in his hands. So Ronnie's got to watch himself in the pocket here. I definitely know and recognize that Ronnie could get caught with that pocket boxing of Kakramanov, but I just think he can keep this fight on the outside, have some success, get the fight on the floor, have success. I think his cardio is a lot more proven down the stretch too in these later rounds. So I like Ronnie just by having a little bit more past to victory, but it's a really good matchup. Next fight takes place in the light heavyweight division. We have Kennedy and Nzechukwu taking on Carl Roberson. We have Nzechukwu minus 131, Roberson plus 111. Another bet on this fight for me, the biggest bet I have tracked so far, Kennedy and Nzechukwu 1.75 units. I just love this guy as a fighter. Even though he is extremely frustrating, hilarious to watch at times, he's not even that good, but I like the guy. And let's make no mistake, he won his last fight against Negramanu. That was one of the worst decisions I've seen in a while. Just a shocking robbery there. I mean, Ozzy and I were pretty
Bro,
pretty
dude,
confident in him throughout the week.
bro. I still can't figure out how the fuck that happened. No one can explain how that
No,
happened.
they truly can't.
No one.
And then he got a point deducted in round three. We're like, oh, we're good. He won round three. We're like, oh, we're totally good. Cash those live bets, cash the pre-fight bets, and they give it to Nurmagomedov. I mean, really, really upsetting stuff there. But I think we're probably getting a better price on the guy as a result of that decision. I mean, it has to be baked in there a little bit. No one is going back and rewatching that fight. Only a few degenerates like us listening to this podcast are rewatching it. But on the other hand, Carl Robeson, one of the most notoriously frustrating and stupid guys of his own right. I mean, this guy just continuously underwhelms people in fights, but the market keeps pricing him like he's good. I don't get it. I mean, he was minus 150 to Roundtree. He was a really closely lined versus Brendan Allen. I mean, and now he's closely lined here as well. Was a pick 'em at times, and I don't get it, man. This guy is no good. He is, fought a middleweight, so he's going to be the smaller guy in there. His striking, is okay. His wrestling's okay, but he just doesn't know how to make good in-fight decisions. He doesn't know how to throw a lot of strikes. And Kennedy is just an output machine. This guy just throws a ton of straight punches, and that's what I like about him. Is when this fight's on the feet, I trust him to be throwing and landing more strikes, and I think that's what the fight's going to come down to. I don't see Roberson having that wrestling success. Kennedy's long frame is just going to be difficult for Carl to take down, and Kennedy just throws a lot of strikes, and Fortis fighters coming off a loss, they are a phenom in MMA, and I love Kennedy in this fight. So I think he's gonna outbox this guy to a decision probably.
I mean, I can see why someone would like the Kennedy side, but it's just not for me, man. After that last fight, like, yeah, I thought he won, but he didn't do like he should have took the second. I thought he won 3-0 personally, but I mean, Nicole sucks. Like that dude's terrible, and like Carl Roberson is, I feel, just a whole different tier of fighter. Even if people want to snap on him and be like, oh, like that last fight again. Like, I mean, you have to remember, like, he did close a favorite against Khalil, correct? Right? He got steamed against Khalil. And I don't
Yeah, like
remember
he
what
was I think he was minus 160.
I don't remember what the narrative was on that one. Like, I don't know if people thought, I didn't bet on the fight, but I don't know if people thought that he was gonna outstrike Roberson or just grapple him, or excuse me, Roundtree, or out grapple him. I don't remember, but he got bet in that fight. And I mean, the guy, I mean, he's got some skills. Like, I mean, even his grappling is a little underrated. And he used to be at 205. He was killing himself a little bit to get down to 185. I think that contributed a little bit to the mistakes that he would make sometimes in fights, like just being dehydrated overall. So I kind of think there could be, like, at the plus 108 number, like, I don't think so, but I just paying juice on Kennedy, man. Like, his whole game is just jabs and crosses, right? He doesn't really mix up, doesn't really throw hooks. He gets frozen in the pocket a little bit as well. He could be timid, if he gets hit. He got turned off by Jung, kind of randomly. And just a few of his fights are just weird, and I'm just not in the business of betting weird guys like him. Like, even in against Danilo, right? Danilo has his back, and what Kennedy does, he doesn't do anything. He's like, freeze, all right, nothing's gonna happen here. And Carl Roberson, I don't think, one, is incapable of putting Kennedy in bad situations, and then two, he's kind of a potent finisher himself. like I said, he's like a sneaky grappler. He's willing to use the grappling, and I think he will be the superior grappler against Kennedy. Yeah, it's probably gonna be tough to take Kennedy down, and Roberson does not have the best takedowns, but he's a kickboxer. I think he's gonna mix it up, throw punches, kicks to the body, mix it up to the head. I think his defense is not not all that bad. So I mean, if there's a more of an inflated plus price on Carl, I think I'll be willing to jump in, but I want to avoid this fight. I don't want them to make me bet Carl Roberson, but maybe the over here because honestly, like I don't really think Kennedy's finishing Roberson very easily. I think the KO line for Kennedy is a little too short. It's gonna have to be an overwhelming, kind of KO, and I don't know if Kennedy necessarily has that in him. But Carl did quit in his last fight, but Khalil hits just way harder than Kennedy, and he's like a real kickboxer, whereas Kennedy's just like a freaking cardio boxer. So I'm actually gonna pick Carl Roberson to get the win. And if it gets I need a little more meat on the bone though to make it a bet. So we'll go Oppo on that one. But I like the
That
over. I don't think Kennedy's getting him out of there quick. I don't think he's gonna come out hot. He's a slow starter. So yeah, give me Carl.
Yeah, you're onto something with the over, but you're severely mistaken in putting any faith in Carl Roberson. I mean, this guy's got to be one of the worst fighters to come out of the
No,
Northeast
no,
in
no,
a
no,
long
no,
time.
no, 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 no,
I don't know.
no,
I
no,
I
no, no.
think you would struggle to think of another one.
Confusing. You're confusing performances like bad performances for overall skill.
But
Like
bro,
the
he got
guy, look who he had
straight.
to fight. He fought Marvin Vittori, Brendan Allen, and Khalil. All of those guys are better than
But
basically
it's
anyone
how
that
stupid he
Kennedy's ever
was in
fought.
those fights. He just fights stupidly in every fight. I
Kennedy
mean,
fights
didn't he?
stupid too, and he doesn't do stuff.
No, I don't think he fights. I mean, in the
Even if
Jung
he
fight,
fights
the
stupid
Jung fight.
though, he's fighting against guys with much more experience that can make him pay for fighting stupid. Like, is Kennedy gonna make him pay for what is fighting stupid against Kennedy look like? Like, what is he gonna do?
I think he'll just try to kickbox with them and get out volumed. Honestly, I mean, I don't think like again the
I mean,
grappling might
maybe,
be the best path.
maybe,
I don't think he's
but
gonna do it.
Kennedy's not a reliable striker.
No,
The
I think
only
he
time
is.
that he went nuts on a guy was on Nicole in round 3. That's it in his whole life.
No, I mean he went. I mean he went toe to toe with
But
Oldberg. I mean
bro, no, he was getting wrecked, and then Oberg slowed down, and then he started going ham. But
well the fight was had it. He was competitive throughout. I mean the
he was
reason why
clearly
the
losing, dude. Come
yes
on.
yeah he was. But the reason why I like Kennedy is because like he has had those two fights against Oldberg and Marks where he was losing and then battled back to it. And same with Nurmagomedov. We know
Oberg
he won the
landed
fight.
83 punches. I mean, Oberg outlanded him almost by double.
Yeah, but the Nigerian still knocked him out. I mean,
That's Oberg with like 3 fights, literally.
it's a good win. It's aging well. I mean, the win has aged well in the past few weeks.
That shit was like 2 years ago almost. Or no, it was
Yeah.
1 year ago.
Well,
Whatever, dude.
imagine getting
Kennedy's not
straight ankle
reliable. The
lock, bro.
fact that you're acting like Kennedy's
Last thing I'll
reliable is
say.
ridiculous.
Last thing I'll say. I think he's more reliable at -111 where I bet him at and your pick him. But
Sure.
last thing I'll say is isn't a straight ankle lock, is that like a pain submission or is it like do you think it's like it's not like a heel hook, right? It's a pain submission,
No,
right?
motherfucker, you could get your ankle snapped. You kidding me?
N- But is Brendan now the guy to do it? Like if Brendan Allen gets you in a straight ankle lock, do you think you're tapping out like that, bro?
Don't you speak highly of Brendan Allen? Don't you think his
I'm
squeeze is
off it.
pretty nice?
I'm off Brendan Allen. I'm
Oh
off him.
yeah, now you're smart. You remember when I told you he'd be out of the UFC by the time he was like 30 or something or 28? I remember
I
what age I
I
told
mean,
you,
he'll
but
probably be like the Bellator middleweight champion by then. But yeah, probably.
there's zero chance. But I told you this guy's what 20. He's a 95 kid. I told you he's gonna be out of the UFC. So I mean, he barely beat. I mean, Brendan Allen sucks. But either way, dude, no, you could definitely get your fucking ankle popped and snapped from a ankle lock. That's
Oh, it'll
ridiculous.
pop, but it won't.
Kennedy
It
doesn't
just
even know jujitsu, bro. What are we even talking about?
no. It'll hurt, but you can
No,
pain. You can power
Martian,
through that.
stop, stop,
You can
stop,
power
stop,
through it. I've
stop,
powered
Marvin,
through many
stop,
straight ankle locks in my time.
stop, stop, stop.
Um. Okay. Next fight. Featherweight division, David Onama, Garrett Armfield making his UFC debut. Armfield, very short notice, took the fight today, I think, right? Or last
Yes, he
night or
did.
some shit.
Yeah.
And they have fought before. Onama -900, Armfield +550. My summary of their first fight is that Armfield, made it competitive for the first 4 or 5 minutes. It was a 3 minute round amateur fight, but then Onama just started, realizing that he's at a huge athletic advantage, and this guy is smaller and hits a lot less harder. And Onama just started going crazy. Second and third round started kind of teeing off on him, smashed him with some big knees, but Armfield stayed tough and made it to a decision. So that was 3 or 4 years ago. Onama's, been the one in the UFC, getting wins since then. Do you think Armfield's got any chance, Ozzy, here? Did you look into this fight on short
I don't
notice?
have many thoughts on this fight. I've seen Armfield multiple times. He fought Ronnie Lawrence. That was a really good fight that they fought on like a LFA prelim. It was a competitive fight, but Ronnie obviously won. And then I remember I bet on Mateo Vogel against him. And I mean, you remember I put you onto that one. I think we got like plus like 220 or something like that. The legend of Discord Tyrax was on the other side of that. Thank you to him. But it was a sweaty ass fight because this dude Armfield was destroying Mateo Vogel. I mean, Mateo Vogel, he earned a fan for life for surviving that and then fighting a submission. But yeah, I mean, Armfield's going up a weight class. I think at 135 he could be solid. I think he could stick in the UFC. And he's a Sanford guy. He's from Missouri, like my boy Grant Dawson. But this kind of fight reminds me not like just a short notice nature of it, like um Parsons versus Elder, right? Elder and Armfield are both from Missouri, and they're fighting bigger guys that like could probably hurt them and stuff like that. So yeah, I think Armfield's gonna lose. I thought that Onama would be like minus 600 here. He's minus 800 now. So I mean, I think we're kind of accurate, but I'm not betting on this fight. The only thing I would maybe try to consider if people want to, I wouldn't want to actually lay the juice on the over 1.5 just because Onama's so much bigger. And he got after Benitez so hard last time. But I mean, I'll be rooting for Armfield. I like when guys are like that, coming in short notice, up a weight class, all this stuff. But no bets on that for me. And I'm not high on Onama though as a prospect. I don't think he's that good. So
No.
I wouldn't be surprised if he lost.
He's not that good, but he's an athletic freak, honestly. I mean, the dude's got incredible athleticism. I mean, I'm coming into the UFC, I remember taping his grappling, and this dude just had like these crazy ability to escape positions. Like he'd have his back taken and he would just power out of it. And then I still thought Mason Jones would have a chance to submit him, but then the dude was doing the same shit. Mason Jones just like couldn't control this guy on the ground for very long. He just kept escaping. So he's hard to hold down. He's hard to submit. He's pretty durable as well. We saw that in the Mason Jones fight, but that was up a weight class. Benitez definitely, rung his bell a little bit, but this guy has a really good ability to come back from getting hurt and to just stay in a firefight, even if he's getting hurt. And I think that's going to be pretty difficult for Armfield to get a win here because I don't see him, winning rounds against Onama. I think he's definitely going to need a finish. And I just see Onama being, too durable, too tough to submit to really, get finished here. I mean, I guess he's going to have to get caught and knocked out on the feet if he loses at all. So I guess Armfield by KO it might be worth a small poke at whatever it is, 12 to 1. But yeah, I know the over 1.5 seems interesting here, considering the first fight went 9 minutes, and then the over 1.5 only has to go 7.5 minutes this time. Armfield up a weight class, so we do see guys come in and show a way more durable than they are typically going up a weight class. These guys are just harder to submit, harder to finish when they have that extra 10 pounds when they're not cutting as much weight. But he also is taking the fight on really short notice. Was he supposed to fight or something, or did he just
No,
jump in
dude, I don't
here?
know. Well, let's go on to the next fight, bro. Come on.
Yeah, good idea. Um, Next fight is Brundage versus Gore middleweight fight. Gore getting steamed recently. He's now minus 140. Brundage coming back plus 120. Um, these guys are both pretty, low level, untested guys. Gore, especially with only 4 or 5 fights. And, Gore's last fight, a pretty bad look for him, against Battle, talking about he's going to be a double champ in the UFC and then he loses his first fight.
That was insane.
Um, and then he just doesn't throw strikes, right? That's the guy's problem is he jabs, he has a nice, 1-2, but he doesn't really throw it that much. And I guess he defended some takedowns against Brian Battle. He has defended some takedowns throughout his career, but I don't know. I just don't get the vibe. This guy's a good grappler. He did have one really ugly moment on the regionals where he was put on bottom. But Gore, if he stays on the feet and throws a lot of volume, ups his volume, sure, he should outstrike Brundage. But Brundage is a grappler. He knows he probably should get this fight to the floor. He doesn't really have too much success standing, and I trust the guy to do it. Our boy John Stargarian's been in contact with him. He knows the game plan to wrestle. And if he can get these takedowns, there's a good chance he could get some meaningful top control, maybe even submit Gore. And I think Gore is just way too much of a question mark in the defensive grappling to be laying chalk on him here. So all the people steaming Gore, I don't know them. I don't know anybody betting him. So I don't know where this action is coming from, but give me Cody a plus money, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I like Gore. I think that I think this fight is gonna be better for him than the Brian. But I don't know what was the deal with him there. I don't know if it was like the nerves, like the build up to the fight, like it being it's a real tough finale and all that stuff like that. Like I don't know. All I know is that in the second round he looked pretty good when he started getting going. And I think that what's his name? What's this guy's name? Brundage. Yeah, I mean Brundage. I thought the wrestling. He has some good entries, and you could tell like he flows in. He flows in pretty well, and he's comfortable once he gets a hold of you. But I mean, I've not really seen like against a crockpot dude. He puts him on his back and he kind of maneuvers a little bit well. Once on top. Against William Knight, he kind of gets good positions. But I mean, Gore's not a complete noob in terms of the ground game. He's like at least a purple belt in jiu-jitsu. I know that. I'm pretty sure of that. I think I saw like in like one of the Ultimate Fighter clip stuff, like him wearing a gi at the Lima gym. And I mean, on the feet, I just think that, Brundage is actually not that bad on the feet either. But, I think that he just doesn't react well to getting hit. Like he's kind of like a middleweight version of JP Buys. And I think Gore is actually pretty accurate. Like when he does throw, like we said, he doesn't throw a lot. When he's throwing, he's landing. He's pretty good at finding the chin. He's got he just solid with all the weapons, right? He throws knees in the clinch. Like if he gets in tight, he's got decent kicks. So I prefer the Gore side. I don't really like Brundage. I know he's, that last guillotine was pretty solid, by him. I wouldn't lay the juice now on Gore. He's just a little too unproven to me. But I wouldn't mind, this Gore KO line, which I think I saw like a plus. It was in the twos. I'm trying to open this right now. It's a plus 250. So there's a plus 290 out there as well. So I think that's a solid way to have action on the fight. Just because Gore, I mean, I think he hits pretty hard. He's accurate. I think he chooses his shots better than a guy like Dalcha. And he's good at throwing some intercepting shots as well. So I'm kind of looking at the under. I kind of like the under here because I think if Cody is winning, like I don't want to say he panics, but I feel like if he's having success, he's gonna look for a finishing sequence at some point. Like he's gonna look for a submission. He's gonna be looking like if he's in a lot of grappling exchanges, like I think he'll get a good grappling position, or I think he's gonna tire out and Gore's gonna start getting to him. Also Gore, he had that injury right on Tough. It was a meniscus. By the From my knowledge, he must have had it. He didn't get it snipped; he got it repaired. So I think that he might be, coming back a little bit strong. Like I said, I think he's coming back a little stronger here. Usually, sometimes that knee injury takes a little bit to recover from. So yeah, so I think his cardio is gonna be maybe a little bit better here. He's gonna be able to push a little harder. And yeah, I'm looking at Gore to finish, but I'm looking at just the overall fight under. Is gonna be my lean here, and I'll pick Gore to win the fight.
Nice. We got some dissenting takes so far. Next fight, women's flyweight fight. Shevchenko versus Courtney Casey. Shevchenko is the favorite, minus 163. Courtney Casey, plus 143. Ozzy, I know you're dying to talk about this fight. Let's hear
Bro.
some thoughts on it.
Yeah, you ever seen? I think it's Django, right? Where he's got a sleeve and stuff, and the sleeve, at some point, he just looks up at Leonardo DiCaprio, I think it is, and he's like, "I'm tired, boss," and I'm fucking tired of fights like this all the fucking time, man.
What
And
a reference.
it also pisses me off because it's like, man, I'm looking at this fight and I really want to bet against Courtney Casey. but I know I can't do it, man. Like I just can't do it. I'm not gonna get involved. Like some souls out there on FanDuel, bet Shevchenko minus 188, and like God help them, dude. Like I don't see how you could want to do that if you like know the overall aspect of it. But if you're looking at the fight in a vacuum, for my boy John Kelly in a vacuum, Shevchenko, she just has way sharper strikes. Courtney Casey is like really really slow in my opinion on the feet. Like when she's throwing her right hand, you can see that shit coming from a mile away. I think she's gotten away from, if I'm remembering right, the kicks a bit. Like she used to be a little bit more of a calf kicker, and she doesn't do it as much, right? She lives with Dakar Close, and Dakar Close, he's been known to calf kick, so maybe she brings it out again. Although I think Antonina usually fights southpaw, so that shit probably won't work anyway. But I mean, Casey always fights close, and Shevchenko, like she's just not like all there up top. But if she has a striking fight, she usually has a decent floor overall, and she actually does have like some trip games in there. She'll work in a takedown or two. But man, I'm not betting on this fight. Like, there's just no way that I could, lay chalk on Antonina Shevchenko. And so that means that you would probably think that Courtney Casey is okay. But I think laying chalk on it to go the distance is probably the best bet overall of this fight. So you minus 180, 190, 185. I think that's kind of solid because I don't think Shevchenko's going to knock Casey out. And Casey doesn't really get submitted. Like, she got submitted by Robertson, but it was like at the end of the fight and all that. So, and I don't think she's gonna submit Valentina or Antonina, but the the armbar is always live, in women's MMA, so it could happen. But yeah, I'll pick I'm gonna pick Shevchenko to win by decision. So what's that? Shevchenko by decision is,
Plus
I mean, you could
120.
get plus 120. It's not that bad.
Yeah, I mean, I initially thought maybe Casey would be value here, but no, not thinking that anymore. Looking for some way to play the fight though. I feel like no scorecards for Shevchenko. I mean, she's only minus 150. I mean, Casey only has like one finish, right? Or yeah, she has
If
arm
she
bars.
finishes her, it's an armbar, bro. I'm telling you.
Yeah, but I think, but Shevchenko has, she finished Lipsky on the match. She finished Pudilova with some stupid choke. Like she has gotten some stupid finishes just that went her way. And I don't know. I mean, for only minus 150, I feel like there's a good chance that wins. But I mean, yeah, Shevchenko should outstrike her in the feed. Should definitely have a big clinch advantage. I mean, the only way I see Casey really winning is getting a takedown. But she only has 3 takedowns in her UFC career, which spans like 3 hours. Shevchenko also has 3 takedowns. But these women have been taken down 15 times for Shevchenko and 29 times for Courtney Casey. She's been taken down 29 times in the UFC. Like, are you kidding me? She just has no idea how to wrestle. Like, remember the Joe Jua fight? Like, she was getting outstruck the whole fight, and then anytime Joe Jua attempted a takedown, she would easily get it. And everyone's like, "What the?"
Hey, man.
Her coach
Courtney
is like, "What
Casey
the
doesn't
fuck are
make
you doing?"
sense, dude. Like, I don't know what kind of fighter, like how she came to form, but she's a really weird fighter. I
Yeah.
don't like her.
Yeah, I think Shevchenko. Early in the week I was thinking it was dog or pass. Now I think it's kind of Shevchenko or pass. I mean, I think it's gonna. I'm not advocating laying juice on women's MMA because we don't do that. We don't do that on this fucking podcast. But I think Shevchenko will win. And then yeah, plus 120 Shev decision. Not bad. Next fight is probably one of the best fights on the card. We have bantamweight division. Alamine Zahabi taking on Ricky Tercios. The line here is Tercios minus 190, Zahabi plus 165. So I've got a bet on this fight. Got some Ricky Tercios. Bet against him on his last fight with Brady Heistand. Super close back and forth fight. I definitely don't think the high stand bet was bad. I mean, it was a split decision after all. Um, but I mean, Tercios, just impressed me in this fight. This guy just he's a dog. I mean, he throws a ton of strikes in the feet. He's got an endless gas tank. He gets taken down. He finds a way to scramble up. He's hard to hold down. I mean, I really think he is a mini Tony Ferguson. You know, in training right now. I mean, the dude just has a lot of similar characteristics. His strikes are kind of ugly. He gets hit a good amount, but he's tough and he comes forward and he'll take one shot to give two back. And eventually that will, be a bad strategy. But I don't think Alameen Zahabi's the guy to really make him pay for that. I mean, this guy fights very rarely. He did win his last fight by Draco, and I'm pretty sure Ozzy and I both bet him in that fight as an underdog. Sure, he had a nice knockout over Draco, but Draco is a low level fighter. I don't think he has a single win in the UFC, right? And Zahabi just caught him with one clean punch, but Zahabi was doing nothing up into that fight, and that's the way that Zahabi's going to have to win this fight. He's going to have to time a great counter and hurt Tercios and put him away with it, because if this fight goes past, it goes into the rounds and we go to a judge's scorecards, I'm really confident that Tercios' volume will be the thing winning this fight. I mean, it's a small possibility that Zahabi throws enough big shots to stifle Tertius and for him to win the rounds. But man, I really see this being a very favorable fight if this fight goes to the decision for Tertius, just because he's just so aggressive and so high output. I mean, this guy just doesn't stop. Great cardio, and I think he's a guy you want your money on. And where the price is at now, that's probably where I cap him: 65%, 65, 67%. But yeah, I'm feeling good about Tertius going into this one.
Yeah, so this is a fight I focused on this week. Like you said, I did bet Ayman Zahabi in his last fight against Draco. I had him, all kinds of ways, inside distance, no scorecards, money line, all that. But I mean, it wasn't that great of a performance. But like you said, Draco is like one of the lowest level dudes in the UFC. Like he honestly shouldn't have been in the UFC. Like he came in, he got a fluke triangle over Mana Martinez. And obviously he's been quickly out of the UFC. And coincidentally, I think Trotman, another Twitter guy with us, boxing guy, said that he's got a boxing fight coming up, this week or something like that. But regardless, in that fight, he's kind of just like consistently flinching. He's kind of like not really looking to counter all that much. He's kind of on the back foot and kind of like just not engaging. And I kind of see Draco when I'm looking at Draco there. He kind of wants to exchange more with Sahabi. He's kind of like, oh, what's this guy doing? He's kind of like looking at him kind of a little peculiarly, and then I think that actually went into, not, it wasn't his game plan, but it kind of played into the hands of Zahabi, because after maybe the 3 minutes, whatever, Draco is such an inexperienced guy that he's coming in without much offense, and Zahabi's able to connect on his chin with one of those overhand rights, right? And I don't think Draco thought that he was going to sit down on a punch like that, and it caught him by surprise. But Ricky, I mean, the guy's a whirlwind. Obviously, this dude, is coming forward all the time. He's got pretty good strikes, strike selection in my opinion. He mixes it up well. He's fine to fight in the clinch as well. And then if he does get put on his back at all, which I think maybe Zahabi will, look to wrestle a little bit here, coming from that TriStar camp. He's got great get-ups. He's got some good sweeps. He'll go to X guard. He comes up on legs a lot. And he's definitely not a fish on his back, and it's evident that they're giving some submission equity in the lines his way. But I just think the pace overall, like, just look at that or the Draco fight. Like, Zahabi has no interest in really exchanging or like being active or putting strikes out there. Even feints. That's the thing. He's not even feinting. Like, he's not doing anything that I like to see from like the lighter weight guys. That in the I'm not gonna drop the M word. I think people get excited when I drop the M word, but it's like his whole game plan. It just, I don't think is very well suited for this weight class. Again, he's almost 35 as well now, so he's been off for like 16, 18 months. So I don't think that weight cut is real good on him either. And Ricky, I think, has been chomping at the bit to get back into that cage. Like, I don't even think Zahabi would be able to make it through that tough house. Like, he fights what's his name? Dan Argueta. Like, I think Argueta beats him, Shalinian. Like, I just think that those were really, really tough fights for Tercios, for him to come through, pull through them. I think his chin showed pretty well. He's still young. He's a 93 kid. I love that angle. And I think he's coming into his own, man. And I think he could have been in the UFC for a few years now. And I think his pace, his willingness to exchange and get into high pace fights, and the way that he keeps the fight on his rhythm, on his pace. Like, even if you don't like that, oh yeah, he gets hit early, blah blah blah, all this stuff. Like, yeah, but it's kind of like in his game plan and in his nature. And I think that if he wants to slow down the fight and not exchange as much, I think that he can make his strikes count more, and while also still remaining unpredictable. So I think it's gonna be a good fight for Ricky. He's like one of my only bets this week. And I mean, I think this is like closer to like BetMGM moved to 225. I think this is closer to like a 70% for Tercios because I don't think Zahabi, like you said, is winning decisions that often against, I mean, literally anyone in the UFC, but especially a guy like Tercios. So yeah, I think Zahabi win is inside the distance. It's actually, I think maybe like a submission here, maybe like catching like the neck or like a guillotine or something like that because he is a tricky grappler. But I think that Ricky's gonna start running away from with this fight and probably win going away. So I think it could be competitive a little bit. I'm not totally discounting Zahabi, but I really like Ricky in this spot.
Yeah, and Zahabi's 45 minutes in the UFC. He attempts 4 strikes per minute. So he's throwing 1 strike every 15 seconds. I mean, I don't think that's a great
I
strategy.
think that's changed as well. Like after he got, I mean, I was in attendance for when he got knocked out by Ricardo Ramos. That was a scary. Like this guy was down for a long time, and after that fight, like his brother, Faraz was like, "Hey man, like you should don't like you should not fight anymore." And I think that knockout had like a big effect on him. Like really, like honestly, like I don't think So I don't know. We'll see, but yeah, I think that he's like way more tentative now after getting caught with something like
Yeah.
that.
And what real quick, what year was Ricky Tercios born in?
Like I said, 1993.
Okay, yeah, just clarifying. All right, main card time, lightweight division, the legend Michael Johnson taking on Jamie Mullarkey. We have the line here at minus 233 for Mullarkey, plus 198 for MJ. Ozzy, your turn to start this one off. What are you thinking about this one?
Pretty overall aggressive line movement in the direction of Jamie Malaki, as I like to call him. I think like maybe like slightly warranted. Yeah, Michael Johnson, like people are saying, he got buzzed a little bit by Patrick. And I think Malarkey, he's kind of got some tight punches in the pocket. He's willing to exchange, but that could also get him in trouble here. What I'm looking at is that Malarkey's submission line is at 6-1, 5-1 in some places, and he's shown to be a pretty good grappler. He has some good control, and the only time that someone was able to get him, like, you saw in the Brad Riddell fight, he was on the ground, the Faraz ZM fight, and obviously we know the deal with Michael Johnson. But I'm curious why they have the KO line price like this. I don't know if like it's because they think that Johnson's durability is waning from seeing that Patrick fight. I don't have a lot of confidence in Michael Johnson. I know some people are saying like, hey, they think that he could definitely win. I mean, yeah, I mean Michael Johnson, if he fights the perfect fight, which he does have the skills to do, I just don't think he has the discipline, and the ability to do it. Just because I think Jamin Malarkey, he could just mix it up so much that like it kind of brings me back to a fight that I remember when Juliana Pena fought Sarah McMahon or whatever. It's not a great comparison, but I remember like talking to some people and I'm like, yeah, you know what, like McMahon is better than Juliana Pena in a number of areas, but like she's just Juliana's gonna make her brain overheat and like she's gonna start making mistakes. So that's what happens to Michael Johnson. Look at that Thiago Moises fight. He comes out, he looks amazing, right? But like I don't know, like the more this guy thinks, like the worse that he does. And I think Jamie Malarkey's gonna make him think, kick, jab, left hook, right cross, clinch, takedown, bump, all this stuff, and eventually Michael Johnson's gonna mess up. He's gonna do something that's gonna get him finished. But I won't blame anybody for playing the Michael Johnson line. I'm not gonna play this fight at all. I'm gonna pass on it. And wish people luck. I like Jamie Malarkey. I'll pick him to win, but I wouldn't blame a little stab on Michael Johnson for some people. But
Yeah,
not my kind of guy.
yeah, I mean, I don't knock the stab at all. I mean, I think it is it's a definitely a value situation. I mean, you make this bet, you realize exactly what Ozzy just said. This guy's a notorious idiot. The fight could lose. You could lose at any moment. He's bound to make stupid decisions. But up until that moment, I think plus 200 is going to look pretty good. I mean, if this fight stays standing and it's just a pure striking fight, I mean, I still expect Johnson to be outboxing Malarkey and having the speed advantage. I mean, Malarkey lost round one to Devonte Smith not that long ago, right? And he started real slow in the Turner fight, got busted up and knocked out badly there. Bad knockout 4 months ago, and this guy just has been, really durable throughout his career. The Brad Riddell fight being a great example of that. But then we saw Turner, eventually be able to put him away. So, there's a possibility that durability is waning a bit. Malarkey, I think he is a pretty young guy, but I feel like this guy's just got a lot of miles on him. His face looks like he's just taking a lot of punches. Um, And Michael Johnson, his takedown defense is actually like really not that bad. He's bound to make a mistake, but like if you shoot 5 takedowns at him, I think he'll stuff 4 of them. I mean, it's just that one takedown that he gives up, he's probably going to make a terrible mistake, and eventually get himself finished or something. But man, I don't know. I just don't rate Mullarkey that highly as a grappler. I mean, if he comes in dedicated grappling into this fight and hits takedowns and looks easy, I call me wrong, but I think he's gonna fool around on the feet and make this fight a little bit harder than it has to be. And I was surprised to see him, just walk through MJ. But the Malarkey sub is so much better than the KO. Malarkey sub at 6-1. I mean, if you think Malarkey's going to cover his price tag, it's definitely going to be in the grappling. And I think, yeah, like Ozzy mentioned, the Malarkey KO price doesn't make sense to me. The Malarkey sub at 6-1. I mean, I think that's probably worth a poke as well. I mean, a grappler against MJ at that price for sub, take that. Um, Enough about that one. Women's fight next. Flyweight division. Cynthia Calvillo, Nina Nunes. Um, Man, this is just one of those fights that is depressing to think about. Cynthia Calvillo minus 142, Nunes plus 122. And yeah, like Ozzy's incredible Django reference. If you guys don't
Yeah,
know what he was
I
talking
actually
about,
I want to correct that. I messed up. I don't remember. I don't know why I thought that it was Django. That was
it
a Michael
was.
Duncan, and no, they might have been in that one too. But I'm remembering the gift from the Green Mile. So I
Oh,
maybe it was in Django too, but
yeah, because
whatever.
there's
That's
an
one
episode.
gif I like to share. That I'm tired, boss.
There's a scene
Yep.
in Django where one of his fighters is hiding in a tree because he doesn't want to fight anymore, and he says something
Right.
along like "I'm tired, I'm tired." Yeah.
That maybe that's the
So
one I'm thinking about. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Sounds good. Either
um,
way, two amazing movies. Rest in peace, Michael Duncan.
um, Anyway, this fight is just, really sad to think about. So, what I'll say is Nunes in her last fight, she did go against a really tough matchup in Dern, got destroyed, demolished, taken down, sliced through her guard, submitted easily. Just on the feet there, man, she looked wooden. She looked stiff, old. She looked like every bit of having a baby and taking a few years off the cage. No disrespect, but she just looked old and slow. No other way around it. And her takedown defense had been historically a lot better than it showed in that fight. And she got put on bottom by Marcos and Gedalia and Suarez even, and was able to survive bad positions against them. Obviously, during a different animal on the ground than those women, but I still was a bit surprised to see just how easily Dern sliced through that all. So to me, that probably shows that Nina is going to be slowing down on the decline here. Obviously, she's 36 years old. Wow, that's even older than I expected. She's had a pretty long fight career, and she's a mother now. So I just don't think that's a good formula. Cynthia Calvillo is not young either. She's 33. That shocked me. 34. That shocked me a lot older than I thought. But this woman's been getting really tough matchmaking lately. I mean, Chukagian, Andrade, Andrea Lee. 3 tough opponents, 3 losses in a row. And I feel like those losses are probably giving you a buy low spot on her here. To me, she's younger, has the more upside potential to improve. If anyone's hitting takedowns and keeping top position, it's going to be Calvillo here. And man, I don't even think it's going to be a blowout on the feet. I mean, it's going to be a coin flip on the feet, man. Nunes was looking old as hell in those exchanges versus Dern. So I honestly think Calvillo is the side here. Again, we don't bet women's MMA chalk on the podcast anymore. We've made that pact, blood pact. But Calvillo is the side here.
Yeah, I mean, so Nina's moving up to 125 from that 115 fight, right? The Dern fight, yeah, the Dern fight was 115, and she basically probably killed her body, to make it, to that weight after the pregnancy. She is coming off the Ultimate Fighter with her husband Amanda, and I mean, it was a
Whoa.
125. What? What?
You said
That's her
husband.
husband. That's her husband.
No, no. You can't
You
say
haven't
that in
seen the marriage.
2022,
You
bro.
haven't seen the
Also,
marriage certificate.
I had no idea this was at 125. Good point for bringing that
Yeah,
one up. No clue.
focus on the relevant stuff, okay? All right? Focus on the relevant stuff. You haven't seen the marriage certificate. Anyway,
My fault, my fault.
before I was rudely interrupted. Um, oh yeah, so Ultimate Fighter, and obviously Nunes is the head coach, but it was a 125 season. So I would think, I mean, maybe Nina's getting in some work with those girls. It would only make sense. But I kind of just don't like her in this fight. Like you said, even though Cynthia Calvillo has been butchered in her last two fights, right, on the feet, boxing, like, it's kind of disciplined. Like, she throws the jab, she'll follow with the right hand. Obviously, she doesn't have power, in her hands, but she'll throw strikes on the feet. But the thing is, like, you want her to be going for takedowns, and like she hasn't been doing that. So I would think that is the game plan here a bit. But I just think that it's going to be probably difficult for her to get Nina down easily and consistently. So, like you said, at the chalk price, I wouldn't want to get involved. Looking at the Calvillo by decision line, though, kind of interesting to me. Plus 160. I don't think that's bad. I think that's actually a very, very fair price
Mhm.
for the submission or for the decision line. I think it's gonna, Nina's gonna be very defensive when if she does get taken down. She wasn't really ever a get up girl. That's the issue that these guys had that were betting her against Dern. She was like, all you heard is, oh man, but she's hopping on. Look how she's hopping on one leg against Tatiana, bro. Like, there's no way Dern could put her down. It's like, dude, okay, whatever. But she's not really a get up girl, right? She's like, she's got some dexterity, right, from the karate taekwondo bullshit. But like her ground game is just never gonna be there. Like, it's just ever, ever, ever. So, the concern would be obviously Calvillo submitting her. Maybe look at the Calvillo decision and submission line. It's probably a shitty price. But I like that Calvillo by decision line. I think I actually might play that just because even though we don't like, right, betting women's MMA chalk and stuff, we like the dogs, like the plus money on some of these women's, fights. It is mispriced. Some of the props and, Dern by submission against Nina, plus like 320, right? Insane. So yeah, I think I'll play a little Nina or Calvillo by decision, but not very confident in the pick because Nina, she does have like more pointed and direct and sharper strikes on the feet. But I'm hoping that Calvillo could get some takedowns and just hold her down.
Yeah, I agree with that decision line. That's a good price. So I'll probably play that as well. I just think the goes the distance here is kind of short. I mean, minus 180. Wait, no, wait.
I mean,
Did I
I
use
don't think
that
Nina.
long?
Yeah, I don't
Well,
think
is that
Nina's. No, I see.
did
It's
I use
minus
that
180.
word correctly? Is short the right word to use there though? It's short
Short.
or
Yeah, I mean, sure. Cheap. Cheap.
yeah,
Like, all right.
minus
A
180. Minus
bargain.
180. How the
Minus
fuck is this
180.
fight finishing
I mean,
35% of
I
the
don't
time?
think Nina's finishing anything. Like,
No.
there's no way. So, is
Is she finishing Amanda though? Is the real question.
you see, you talk shit about me, and then you say something like that.
Next fight, heavyweight division. Jared Vanderaa, Chase Sherman, Ozzy's fucking boy, Chase
My
Sherman.
man, this
This
guy never
guy,
he never leaves, dude. This guy is
we
perpetually in our
can't get rid of
lives.
him.
No.
He's the heavyweight Sam Alvey. He's
Wow.
becoming, but Vanderaa is the minus 205 favorite. Chase Sherman plus 175. I mean, Ozzy, your turn to start this one off.
I mean, the answer I'll tell, man, is never Chase Sherman. He's just never the guy, man. Like, the only win he's had since when did he beat Ike? That was in 20. Was that 2020 or before?
Yeah, yeah, I think it was.
Not even a real heavyweight. And I mean, the guy's just bad. I mean, he's went back to Sanford. He must be like a fun, joking, kind of fun guy to be around. Like, no disrespect to
Jovial.
the guy. Yeah, jovial, benevolent, right? Get in all those SAT words. But he just doesn't do enough in these fights, and he's not durable. And he's done roids before, and he's just not smart, and he doesn't have a ground game, and he like slips and falls, and he doesn't like push through pain, and he doesn't, his cardio is not great, and he ever won a decision, Martian? Like, I forget my Chase Sherman statistics.
Actually, I
um
think he has early on in
has
the
he?
UFC.
And I mean, the funniest thing is, like, you've literally actually gotten plus money to fade this guy on multiple occasions. And the juice here is, I don't really want to do it. I mean, he's won one decision. Okay, he's 1-4 in decisions, and the one decision was,
Damian Grabowski.
yeah, I don't even remember that. That was in New York. Oh God, good. That was the gas. Oh, I didn't go to that event. Thank God. But I don't even know who Damian Grogowski is.
Nope,
He's probably
no
in
clue.
KSW. He's probably in KSW
He
now. He
is.
is. He is. Good call by me. Damn, he's 20. He's 22-5, and he lost to Chase Sherman. The heavyweight's an insane place. But I mean, I just think Vanderaa, he's an idiot. I mean, let me not fighter bash. He makes some bad decisions, right? Particularly the Alexei Oleinik one.
He's an idiot.
But yeah, but overall, man, like I think it's hard to finish him. He's super tough. He's actually got better cardio than you would think at the weight class. He's big, right? He's like bigger than Chase Sherman. He's got great reach. And he makes the fights dirty. He's very willing to push and do the stuff that's gonna score him points and win him the fight. So I mean, I would give him a big edge in the third round if it did get there. And then he would only need to win one of the first two or finish Chase Sherman. And obviously, if he puts Chase Sherman down, Chase is not getting up. The KO line is plus 150 here for Vanderaa. I don't really like that, but I think he's gonna fucking cook Chase Sherman. So I don't got anything more to say other than that. Like, I would never, ever, ever lay a bet on Chase Sherman. Like, literally, you could give me plus like 400 on this fight. Like, I'm never betting on Chase Sherman. So my pick is Jared Vanderaa.
Yeah, I mean, you got to find some way to put some money on Vanderaa here. I like his sub prop, and this is going to be a prop type of fight. Vanderaa sub 7-1. Yeah, that means 1 out of 8 times he has to get a
I
sub.
kind of like that. I kind of
Love
like
that.
that.
Love
Yeah.
that. Round 2, Vanderaa, oh, it's 550 just for the round straight up, and then round 3 is plus 1300. Wish we got a little bit better number on round 2, but 1300 for round 3 is really good. And then you got to combine what I just said too. The sub round 2 plus 2400, and then sub round 3 plus 4800. I mean,
Sub round two is 20 is what?
24-1 for Vanderaa
For
sub.
sub round two.
Yes.
Okay, I'm betting that.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Those are on DraftKings. See,
I like that one. I like that one specifically
I'm finding
because
the
I think
fucking
he could
gems.
exhaust Chase like early, like they could be clinching and stuff, and then and then like the Badeau fight, like the Badeau and fucking what you called that last week or 2 weeks ago, whatever it
Parisian.
was.
Parisian. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, so that's what you got to do. You got to take some sub. You got to take some 2-3. So that way, if he TKOs him in 2 or 3, you still profit. But then if he gets the sub in 2 or 3, it's the fucking cherry on top. And that's just the way you got to play it. I mean, Vanderaa, you said he's tough. You said he's hard to submit, though. I can't get that image out of my mind of him, how quickly he tapped to that scarfold choke. Now, here's something that I'm finally realizing. I never understood why people couldn't defend that. Me,
Bro.
I always had great defense to that. Always had great. I mean, I don't think I ever tapped that. Maybe one time when some guy had like a 75-pound weight
I
advantage.
got caught. I got caught with that one time. I was like training at Marcelo's, and it was this dude. He was like a college wrestler, like Virginia or something. And yo, you know what? It's more to do with. It's like how hard their body is. You know what I'm saying? Like, and you
Hmm.
got to think Alexei Oleinik, like he's just probably made of lead, dude. His fucking bones are probably just like brick strong, and like literally, it feels like the planet is on top of you. And I got caught with that before. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, like
So,
I think Olenek would get me with it. And
poor Oleinik.
what I'm finally realizing
Dude,
is
you put
that
a hole in the mat with your fucking
these
body.
heavyweights they have no agility to escape it. So the easy escape is, you put your arm in the guy's chin, you lift your legs up, you fucking, tangle his
No, you
legs
can't
up
do that.
or
They
your
can't do that.
yeah, yeah, they just can't do that. They can't get their legs up that high. They
But
can't.
also conversely, if you think about Conejo, right, Ruiz, when she did it to what's her name? Cheyenne, she
Right.
doesn't have like the brick, kind of body that Olenek has. So she can't really do that like that pressure. So you gotta
Hmm.
give Olenek some credit, bro.
But still, okay. Yeah, I do give him credit. But buys, I'm telling you, I would have escaped that position in half a second. I don't understand. It's very easy to escape. And like I'm thinking, and Derek got 2 weeks notice. I would have thinking this guy is drilling that escape all day. All day. That's all you got to do is drill the
No,
escape
no, no.
and you
At
win the fight.
heavyweight,
And he
dude.
still
At
couldn't do it.
heavyweight, no. At heavyweight, you think like, yo, I'm not even gonna let them get me in that position. That's how heavyweights think. You gotta put your mind in the head of Bandera. Like if you put your brain in the head of Bandera, he might be heavyweight champion.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, he essentially has no IQ right now. So any implementation of my skill set into his body would probably, yeah, I agree. All right, enough about that bullshit. Um, 3 good fights on the top of this card. Bantamweight
Let's
division next:
go.
Saeed Nurmagomedov, Douglas Silva, D'Andrade, DSDA, one of the coolest names in the UFC. Huge favorite price on Saeed here, minus 335, Andrade plus 275. I just took a fat L betting against Saeed in his last fight. Actually bet against Andrade in his last fight as well too. So obviously reads aren't too good on either of these guys. But Saeed, it's a fact that this guy hasn't fought past 1 minute in 2.5 years. So he only has two fights in the past 2.5 years, both of them quick finishes. Nice finishes. He fucked Striegel up with some punches and finished him, and then he caught Cody with that nasty guillotine. I mean, that really shocked me. I mean, Cody has grappled with Aljamain Sterling. He got the better of Aljamain for a portion of that fight in the grappling, and then him just getting choked out so easily like that, really depressing. And Saeed, when the fight gets extended, he doesn't look too good. This guy's a big spinning attack guy. He like these big spurts of energy, and that's a recipe for slowing down later in the fight and not being the best round winner. So when we seen him fight Justin Scoggins and Raoni Barcelos, he lost both of those fights. I think the Scoggins fight is widely regarded as a robbery, right, Ozzy? Didn't you bet him in that fight or some shit?
Oh, the massive robbery. That was one of my bigger L's I've ever taken because I was so confident that Scoggins that broke Scoggins' career literally.
Yeah. I mean, this so that's the thing about Saeed is he's always going to be dynamic and or to enough to finish you early on, but then if the fight gets extended past round one, it's going to get dicey. So that's what I think happens here is, Silva can get, caught cold sometimes early. He might get hit with some shots, might get finished here early considering that Saeed's going to be way faster than him. He's way younger, he's taller, he's longer. I mean, he's going to be dealing with some trouble early on. But Andrade adapts well. He got hurt versus Morozov. He came back and hurt Morozov and finished him. The guy digs to the body. He's a nasty puncher. He's just a tough all around guy. And even Peter Yan had to beat up on him for 2 rounds before finishing him. So, man, I mean, I think there's no way you can be betting a Saeed of any kind here. I mean, money line, even as props, I think are kind of confusing to bet with the KO and the sub being around the same price. I don't see value on anything related to Saeed here. So I think you got to just maybe wait to live bet Andrade here, and hopefully he can survive that early storm, and hopefully he can come back and make something happen in these later rounds. And Andrade is a cool fucking fighter, so I hope he can maybe bring out some crazy shit here in these later rounds. And Andrade round 2, 1,600, round 3, 2,000 on some books. So maybe those late props for DSDA.
Yeah, I've been thinking about this fight a bit because I mean, I love Douglas, and I mean, the guy's an absolute fucking wild man, right? Like, I think, if you look back at the Morozov fight, like he just kind of gets caught with that uppercut, and it was very early as well, and it kind of like, messes him up, for a long time, and then I think he gets hit with like a punch or elbow that cuts him open. But I mean, he's shown better cardio than you would think from a guy that's like just so muscled up. But I just love that the guy has like so much experience overall, both in the UFC and just in his career overall. Um, I respect Saeed. Obviously, I think I was on the Cody Stamen side with you in his last fight. But like you said, like you saw in the Ronnie Raoni Barcelos fight, when he gets a guy that's like not coming in and engaging with him as much, sometimes he could be a little slow to develop. I don't think that he's necessarily going to be hurting Douglas all that much. Like it kind of reminds like the Lerone Murphy fight, like in the aspect of like a guy who he's willing to exchange and fight with you in the grappling or the striking realm. And I just, I can't get to this place with Saeed. Like I think he's very good, but I just think for him to cover this price, like it takes a lot for him just because his offense is not potent like in like for duration. Like he's good at like his in between strikes are like he'll throw like a few jabs out there, he'll flick the jab, he'll flick the inside leg kick. He'll throw very, very non-threatening single shots, hoping for you to like come in and come to get him. And although, that is the way that Douglas fights. He comes in, he comes in and comes in strong and hard. But I just see this fight potentially being competitive in way more occasions than these odds indicate. I kind of like the fight to go a little later just because I could see these guys clinching a little bit. Although I hope that Douglas is not careless and leaves his neck out there to get submitted. but I kind of like Douglas by submission here some big prices here, 14 to 1, 13 to 1. Obviously, we got a Nurmagomedov on our hands, right? He's not, related in any kind, but I think that the submission, he only has two submissions in his career, but I do think it's possible, right? He submitted Morozov, and Saeed. He has slowed down sometimes before. He looks to slow down the fight, like you saw where Hayoni was getting in on some takedowns on him, and he was looking to just like slow down the fight. And I think that's a good, solid game plan and book for Douglas to take up and try to push. And I think this is a stiff prospect test. And so I don't blame, if you're laying the minus 230, obviously it's moved over $1. But I'm kind of a little interested in Douglas. If I could get, I need plus 300. Like I want to make a line there, but I do kind of like it to go later. Like I like the starts round 3 or the over 2.5 here for a lean. But I'm gonna look at this fight a little bit more. But I think I am gonna have some action on it overall, and I do side with, I think Douglas. I think they're being a good bit of value here on the Douglas Silva side.
Sounds good. So I hope he can pull something off. I mean, if Saeed wins outside of round one, consider me impressed. I mean, that would be, I think, his far and away best win of his career if he were to be able to do that. Co-main event time, we have in the middleweight division, Kyle Borralho taking on Armin Petrosyan. Borralho minus 230, Petrosyan plus 195. Ozzy, your thoughts on this co-main event?
Excellent fight. Goes on top of what I was saying a few weeks back. That middleweight is a great division. It's got a lot of great prospects, a lot of young guys, coming up. And both of these guys had pretty impressive performances in their last fight. Obviously, I think Kyle was my best bet that day that he did fight. But he fought a Russian guy who I think was more highly touted than he really was, skill wise. Also, a guy who's much smaller. I think he's going to be moving down to 170 weight class. Whereas Kyle, I mean, this guy's he's a real middleweight. He's a full middleweight, and he moves well in there. He's got a pretty creative style, right? He's got a little bit of Machida, on the feet, but then also has a Damian Maya background, training wise, and is a solid grappler. Has judo as well. He's just very well rounded and is still young as well. Um, but I still have a few questions on him as a whole for him to be this favored over a guy in Armin, who I when I was watching the fight live, I honestly scored the fight for RoboCop. But looking back at it, I could see why Armin got the second round specifically. He did land some nice shots on RoboCop that it looked to maybe have affected him a little bit more than I gave credit to initially. But I mean, the most impressive thing to me about Armin, and I mentioned to you, is he gets his nose smashed at some point in the fight. I don't know if it was from the head kick or it was already fucked up. But I mean, you look at him in the last 2 minutes of that fight, which was a pretty high paced fight. And to me, the speed and the movement of his was exactly the same as it was in the first round. Like I don't think he lost any zip, any power, any speed on his punches at all. And he's very content to score points. Like he knows how to score points, right? I think he has a kickboxing background, and another thing that I like is when he does throw shots and he does like finish, a combination off, he's really quick to, get out of range and not be there as much for counter strikes. And I think that's going to probably be big here because Kyle, I don't know if he's going to be able to take Armin down as much as people think. Because I think we talked about it. I want to leave some meat on the bone for you. But obviously, in the first round, he kind of hits the sweep pretty quickly and he's able to control Ghazi, pretty easily from there. And in the second round, the guy, somehow, falls flat on his face trying to punch Kyle. And he kind of loses the fight pretty quickly. But he has the judo trips and stuff like that. But I don't think that shit is gonna work on Armin. Like I don't think he's gonna be taking him down comfortably without a lot of effort put out. And like I said, I think his cardio might be a little suspect. That fight against Ghazi, it was not that high pace, right? He didn't have to work all that much to get the grappling positions or to keep them for that matter. And then they ended up he ended up being, I thought, a little, I didn't think he was breathing that hard, but I just don't think that he's going to be as comfortable in this fight. And I'm getting a plus 195 here on a guy who I think is a very skilled kickboxer, knows what's up on the ground, a bit. And I think is being disrespected here overall. A little bit too much hype, I think, on the Kyle Borralho side. I think that the back control, for him would be, the biggest fault and the thing that would win him the fight if he does get it to the ground. But I'm gonna pick the Armin side. I like Armin by decision here. It's like plus 600, and I like him on the money line as well.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm in, pretty much complete agreement. I thought, Kaio was, the side early on, minus 140. He opened minus 300, got steamed down. I was thinking, yeah, Kyle can probably make some takedowns and, win at minus 140. But where this line has gotten, I mean, it's gotten way out of hand. I mean, we're looking at like a 10% difference, I think, between minus 140 and 230 at this point. So, I mean, completely different fight when we're talking like that, right? Huge change. And then rewatching that fight, both of these guys' most recent fights, Ozzy already, said this. I'll just echo it. Just Ohio won that fight on two big moments against Gadji, and just it was a super easy fight for him. Gadji posed no resistance, and Kyle just really didn't get tested in that fight at all. Same with Aaron Jeffrey. That was kind of just an easy fight for him. Jeffrey, not really a too high of a tempo guy, and Petrosyan, I mean, I think he's going to really bring out the tempo in Borralho, and we're going to have to see Borralho's cardio tested a lot more than we have recently. And Petrosyan, this guy's fights all are the same. He gets taken down, he gets controlled, he gets pushed against the cage for a little while. He stays safe, he defends, he separates, and this dude just starts throwing strikes. I mean, he bombs on people the seconds he gets back the distance. We saw that in the Contender Series. I mean, the exact what I just described: controlled, separate, and then within 10 seconds, this guy's getting knocked out. And he really impressed me against RoboCop. I mean, I thought initially watching that fight live, yeah, RoboCop should have won the decision. Rewatching it, I completely see why Petrosyan got the decision. I mean, he's throwing leg kicks, he's throwing body kicks, he mixes in some decent punches to the head. I mean, I'm seeing good technique and fast, crisp technique in all of his strikes throughout the entire body, and I really like that about him. And I just feel like he's going to give Borralho problems on the feet. And if Borralho is not able to get takedowns and control this fight for long stretches of time, I think that Petrosyan's volume in kickboxing is just going to be too much for Kaio. And we're going to see, Kaio, take an L here. I think he's lost one time, right? He's not undefeated, yeah. But
He lost once,
and
yeah.
I think that, yeah, I mean, I think Armin is the easy side at this price. And man, I'm growing more confident. I think this is going to be a little bit more than a unit bet for me at this price. You said decision is 6-1, Ozzy. That can't be.
6-1 on
That's
DraftKings.
insane, man. Um, Man, that's crazy. 6-1 on Armin decision. When this guy just beat RoboCop by decision, and you're telling me he's 6-1 to beat this Bohio guy? Come on. So
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean, and I think like a Kyle win too. Like I think he'll probably look to try to grind this against the fence. Like if he doesn't finish early or like can't get a takedown early, like I doubt he's gonna want to be at range for as long as RoboCop was. So yeah, I think there's a very big potential for this fight to go the distance. I mean, it's plus 140 to go the distance, and you get 6-1 for Armin to win it.
yeah.
Like it's
I mean, I
crazy.
think goes the distance straight up might have value too because I don't know, man. Bohio just doesn't really look to me to as a guy who's hunting submissions. And Petrosian
No, he didn't really. He didn't lock anything up
No,
on
and
Ozzy.
Petrosian knows how to
I
stay
would say.
safe. He's good at mitigating risk when he's in those grappling positions. And man, I don't know. I think this one's going to the distance. I mean, I might be wrong about Petrosian. He might get taken down and controlled here, but I would be shocked to see him get finished here. So that means what is Petrosian no scorecards plus 160? Holy shit! I don't know, man. We're I think the prices are way off in this market all over the place. So let's see if we're right. We need a fucking winner, Ozzy. So main event time. We got lightweight division, a fight that has been booked before. We're seeing it again in the small cage this time. Rafael Fiziev minus 228, Rafael dos Anjos plus 193. So it's spelled the same way, but one is Rafael and one is Raphael. Make sure you guys get that clear. And that's how we're going to distinguish between the two of them. So you got to have that sharp ear to notice what we're talking about here. But the winner of the fight is going to be Rafael. And, the reason why I think this is because 5 round fights in the UFC, they go the distance. We're seeing this more and more lately. These fights scheduled for 5 rounds, they just have this mythical way of going the full distance. And like we saw in the Armin versus Gamrot fight last week, or 2 weeks ago, the fourth and fifth round experience is huge. And Rafael dos Anjos has been in, I honestly think he might have been in like some of the most 5 round fights ever of anybody in the UFC outside of maybe like John Jones and stuff. But this dude is just constantly in 5 round fights, main events and championship fights. And he is just really experienced in those later rounds. Rafael Fiziev has never been the full 5 rounds. I don't think he's ever even been scheduled for it, if I'm correct. But besides obviously the times he's been scheduled to fight RDA otherwise, but that those 5 round experience, round 4 and 5, is just huge. And Fiziev is, it's clear that he's the better striker of the two. He's got a speed advantage, much more dynamic on the feet. RDA can probably hold his own at times, but he's going to be in danger of those big body kicks. Fiziev's got some nasty punches as well. Really good boxing from him. The calf kicks could be there. The inside leg kicks with this opposite stance matchup, and RDA is going to be in some danger here on the feet. But RDA is such a veteran, man. One of the most experienced guys ever, and he just knows how to get fights into the area where he specializes, and he knows he needs to get this fight to the floor. He's gonna, mix in some takedowns, some clinch attacks, and RDA just a historically underrated fighter. I mean, he's a fantastic fighter in every area of the fight. We did see him get out wrestled by some bigger welterweights in the past years, and that people I think that kind of dropped their opinion of him. But this guy is seriously like one of the best fighters ever, top 20 fighters ever, and I don't think he's really slowing down that much. I mean, he just ran through Moicano in his last fight, looked extremely sharp in that fight. He beat Felder over 5 rounds, so he's been going 5 rounds lately. He's been grappling in his fights lately, and I think that he's gonna eventually mix in the takedowns. And obviously, when RDA gets on top, I think it's going to be the entire round. He's going to be on top for good. And Fiziev's takedown defense has looked historically pretty good, but I think that RDA is the best grappler that he's ever fought by far. So I got RDA here with the grappling and the experience, the 5 round experience advantage here, and a plus 193. He's looking awfully good to me.
Very interesting fight here. I mean, Fiziev, I mean, the guy's just got crazy dexterity overall. Like just his command of space, you kind of see glimpses of it, and people see like it in fragments, and I don't know if they connect that this is all it just all goes together, right? Like the fact that this guy could lean with it, lean away from kicks, and then he could land a spinning wheel kick to the head, right? Both of those things are predicated on just spatial awareness, like being, when you say the matrix, like the what that really is him being comfortable and reading and knowing what the distance is and where he needs to be, and how long it takes a strike of his right off a feint or off a a slip or a defensive movement to hit the guy. And Riddell's circling to Riddell's right hand side, so he's able to throw the kick. So he's just a very natural fighter overall, definitely. And he finds the chin as well, right? Bobby Green, I think, gave him the most issues, because Bobby as well is very good in space. He knows how to lean with punches, slip away and kind of use all of that to his advantage, to deflect strikes and stymie the offense coming back his way. Now, Rafael Dos Anjos, RDA, on the other hand, he's more like a meat and potatoes fighter, right? He kind of loads up on his body kick. He kind of is much more deliberate, and is a master of the basics. Is I think the best way that I could describe him. And I think this is gonna be a very competitive fight, and it's very intriguing to me because of all those things that I just mentioned and the dynamic between their styles. The two big things for me here is the small cage and the 5 round nature of the fight, right? The Moicano fight was in the smaller cage, or excuse me, the bigger cage, and you saw what RDA was able to do to him with the wrestling, and he didn't even really need the cage to do that. But you saw in the Paul Felder fight, like Paul Felder's pinned to the fence, like on so many occasions and so easily. And I did fault RDA for not being able to land a lot of ground and pound in that fight, but Paul Felder is Renzo Gracie Philly guy. He's a hard guy to hold down. And he's, I think that gave RDA some issues there. I think he's going to be able to open up a little bit more with the ground and pound. but he's gonna really need to chip away Fiziev a bit because I do think he has some solid takedown defense overall. I think that it's gonna be hard even when you do take him down. Like I think this is the kind of guy who's gonna just like kind of just like scoot to the fence, be shoulders on the fence, sitting up with his butt against the fence and being able to, kind of try to get up a little bit. So if RDA is getting success, having success with the grappling and the takedowns, I do think we'll see like, the clinch, like, like back clinch, like RDA like holding, like, this guy getting up and RDA holding on to it. So if you have any props, like if you're on any of those prize picks, any of those, platforms, I think the over on RDA takedowns, I think is solid, for him if this fight is going later, especially, which I think most people are kind of leaning towards. But I am concerned about the bonk from Fiziev because like I said, man, he's really good at finding the chin and uncorking those shots, very quickly and numerous, shots at a time. But RDA's chin, I think, is been better at 155. He's down in Novo União. He moved back to Brazil, and I think he's pushing it hard there. I think he's embracing being the leader of that camp and being the most prominent guy there. And I like him in this fight. I took some plus 195. We're seeing some plus 190s still popping up, but I think that RDA is going to be able to maybe avoid some of these strikes early on. Use that left body kick, on and the left inside leg kick to stop some of the advancing of Fiziev. But because if he gets in the groove, like Brad Riddell let him get into, it's really really hard, I think, to beat him. So I think RDA does need to start hot, but he also needs to be patient and diligent, which I don't think is going to be an issue. And he obviously has the cardio to push, any which round. So I got RDA here. I'm considering betting him a little bit more if they're gonna keep hanging this plus 190. I just think that he's really solid man, and I think that he knows that this is his last push. So I think a little added motivation factor, and I think it might be a little too early, like biting off a little bit more than you could chew from Fiziev. But I mean, Fiziev is great in the gym, and a lot of accolades, and I think he is a future. He's gonna be a staple of the top 10 in the division. But I think this is a pretty good stylistic matchup overall for RDA, and if he can get some stuff going here. So I'll pick him for the win, and I'm definitely gonna be backing him on the money line, and maybe a little bit no prop action here. I don't like any props here actually. So
So
yeah,
I'll give
RDA.
you some props to think about. RDA sub at 800, RDA round 3 at 2200, round 4 is at 2800, round 5 is at 3500. I don't know, man. Those 4-5 especially, with RD with Fiziev never being in 4-5, you're getting 28 and 35 to 1. That's pretty good. But yeah, I mean
Yeah, and
Fiziev's
we saw in that
go ahead.
go ahead, go ahead. Oh, well, you saw in the Gamrot and Armin fight that those later rounds, like even the most conditioned guys, they get tired, and Fiziev is gonna be throwing out a lot of stuff. But that's like my issue. Like I do think he can catch RDA and potentially hurt him, and if he does put him on skates, I think he's gonna finish him.
It'll be early if that
So
happens, though, right?
I'm gonna try. I'm gonna leave. Yeah, I'm gonna leave some in the chamber though to add to RDA live. I don't want to get too crazy with it, but I like RDA in
Yeah,
this
I
spot.
mean, like you were just saying, like Armin was up 2-0 after going into round 3, and then Gamrot still pulls it back and wins it in those later rounds with that cardio advantage, which I could see happening here. Fiziev outstriking him early, but then RDA taking over late. If Fiziev's gonna win, man, do you think it's gonna be knock? Do you think he has any chance to win a decision here? I mean, I think he's got some, obviously, but you got to think RDA would be the favorite
Yeah,
heading into the decision if it happens, right?
yeah. I think some. I think he has some decision equity, but I just think that it's gonna be a gritty fight if it's going later. Like RDA knows how to sap a gas tank, and I think at 155, like the 170, I think was bad for him because I don't know like how his preparation was there. I just think it was like just like a bad thing for him to be moving all that weight for some guys. But I think at 155, like he has to do everything. He has to ride the bike. He has to run. He has to run hills. He got to run stairs. So yeah, I mean, I think he would have to stun RDA a few times within that. Potentially get maybe like a 10-8 round. I think it'd have to be kind of a crazy fight for a Fiziev
Yeah, well, the
decision.
decision only, they have RDA at plus 165 for decision only, which I think is probably worth it. Um,
Wow, really?
yeah,
Plus 165 decision only.
Yeah.
I mean, they're thinking that Fiziev has way more decision equity than I think, because I mean the over is 4.5 and it's minus
Yeah. So
150.
that's that
So
they think if it
I
goes to decision, Fiziev has a 70% chance of winning. That's
I feel good about the RDA. Like I just feel like this is a good
yeah.
matchup.
Like you said, I would say, put some on pre-fight and then look to live bet, because I do think I think he is likely to lose round one. Um, before you can, but this small cage man is way better for him. I think the last time they were supposed to fight was on a pay-per-view, would have been main card or big cage. And I think that would have been a lot harder for RDA to get his grappling game plan going. But this small cage is way smaller.
I will say too, like, the Fiziev, like patient Fiziev, like he was against Riddell, he did look kind of scary, but I just don't think that he's gonna be able to like hold his ground as easily against RDA. Just because like RDA is not as scared of him as Riddell was, because I think Riddell's probably got his clock cleaned a bunch of times. And I think he's like a more of a power striker. Like he's gonna be able to like, keep Fiziev going backwards more. So I like RDA.
All right, that's gonna take us to best bet of the week time. I haven't given this too much thought, so
I got mine.
I'm gonna have to. Okay, what is yours?
Ricky, I only bet 1 month. Like I bet the money line on Armin. I got Rafael the Dos Anjos, but my best bet that I like the most. I was thinking about like a proper two, but for on the money lines for sure, Ricky Tercios minus 190.
Minus 190. Okay. Man, this is gonna be a tough one to decide. I'm stuck between Hani the Heat or my boy Kennedy and Nzechukwu. And I think
Oh
based on
Lord,
that, I gotta go with Ronnie. I think that it's the much better decision to do, especially because the price
get it
is a
right
lot.
out the way early too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
First
and the
fight, get it
price
right
is
out the
the
way.
price is very more similar to what I actually bet it at, minus 120 versus minus 125, while Nzechukwu has moved a little more. So you combine Ricky and Ronnie, and that gets you to plus 175. That just sounds good, doesn't it? The Ricky Ronnie parlay.
Ricky and
Um,
Ronnie. Ricky Ronnie.
so yeah, book it, everybody.
135.
175.
No, I'm just saying
Um,
they're both 135ers.
true. All right, that's gonna do it for this podcast. Solid fight night next week. UFC Long Island. The Martian will be in attendance. I think Ozzy will as well. And I think it's a
TBD,
pretty
TBD.
solid card. Looking forward to talking about that one next week. And we'll see you all before that next UFC card. So thanks you everyone for listening. Make sure you're subscribing on YouTube. And thank you all for listening. Hope you all cash some bets this weekend. And we'll see you all next week. Peace out.